So, feel just to share a feeling, a thought, an insight, I don't know, whatever it might be, and also to kind of, again, like, I just got out the shower, it's morning, and I need, this is like my meditation in order to to connect to higher states of being or consciousness, or, the mystical, the existential, I don't know, the spiritual, or whatever it is, that's kind of what a meditation is. I would like to think it's kind of like an unplugging, almost, and plugging into something else to a degree, or something or other that's, again, doesn't allow us to just get caught in the material of things, the mind, the matter, the meta, and the emotions of things. There's just one point I wanted to make, which is not really the topic of this conversation. Not that there really is any topics, but that I define it by one topic per se, or idea or thought. But that is, this idea, which some people are absolutely, completely, and utterly against, that we didn't choose to be born into this life, into this world, or to the parents, the family, etc. Like it wasn't a choice, And you can argue that. I agree. Look, I don't really know. But what happens if somebody who is, and I can't speak for everybody, I don't know how it works, because I don't know, maybe there are like a whole lot of just genuine NPCs, maybe not. It's a mystery. We don't know. But I'm talking for myself. So, maybe 10 years ago or so, I would have said to you, there's absolutely no ways that I chose to be born to my parents, to be born in South Africa, to be born into a Jewish religious family with 3 older brothers and 1 younger sister. There's just no ways. I can tell you it goes against every kind of loving, supportive idea that I could have for myself in order to choose to come down into this world. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I did this, like I chose it, in a sense, or my soul chose it, and this is what I put myself through. Just no way, it just can't be. And I would have said 10 years ago that, again, like, I refute the idea, I dispel the idea, I disagree with the idea. There's just no ways. I'm sorry, because it's just too darn awful, and it's a mistake. It was a mistake, or it's maybe like, I don't know, kind of I was just forced to, which again, what do I mean? How is one forced to do it? It's like you're forced to go to school, so you're forced to, like as a kid, it's like, didn't have a choice, you had to go to school, So it's like you had to come to this life, you had to do it. There was like a sort of an adult or a disciplinary person or something or other that said, look, you have to do it. It's just, you don't have a say. So that would be on the other hand, that we were forced to come down here, which doesn't sound very loving and supportive. I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, so then we need to kind of say, well, if we were forced to come down here, well, for, out of tough love, or it's for your own good, although we didn't want to, we resisted and then we were forced. It's like, well, then the universe or the spirits or higher self or whatever it is just basically punishing us. You know what I mean? This is your punishment, or this is your karma because you behaved badly in a previous life. I mean, could be, but I just don't think so. It's just the perspective that we take, or the attitude that we take on, which I'll get to, I suppose. So because what notion do we have of the afterlife, or before we came here, or maybe you didn't exist at all, which I don't believe. It's like, one page in a book that you're reading and you think, that's the whole thing, that's the whole book, that's the whole story, that's the whole narrative. You're convinced of it, one page in a book with 175 pages, and you, because of your ego and because of the pain and the unprocessed pain and making something of your life, you look and say, well, first you're an atheist, there is nothing, and there returns to nothing, and it's also crazy. or you were forced to come here, or you like kind of just maybe part of some kind of system, you know, you're just part of a system and it was your turn type of thing. Like almost you're in school and there's a timetable and now you're moving from, you know, science to, you know, geography, and it's in a system, it's your turn, it's part of you, like a cog on a wheel, and be like, you know, it's just your turn. And sorry, this is what you got to do because this is what you're part of. It's your turn. You got to be of service in a way, but forcefully. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're on a kind of conveyor belt, and it's impersonal to you. It's just like a system. Oh, we need to plug you in here, type of thing. You know, you go here, this person goes here, this person, whatever it is. It's like that's just the way the system works, and you're part of a system, and you're just a cog in a wheel, type of thing. Right? So, again, that's the notion. It's quite a depressing and despairing notion. I mean, just the idea of that. So again, it's up to you. You can choose. That's the thing. That's the mystery that we're involved in, is literally you can choose. It's up to you. What do you want to believe? You know, what do you want to connect with? What do you want to resonate with? You know, and if it's well, I was forced to come here, and you know, heaven is really hell, and the before life is, you know, you're just part of it's a system, and you just, like I said, you know, it's a miserable notion to carry in one's life, and that's on the person. Like I said, that's on the person. So, yeah, very, very miserable to carry that notion. But again, sometimes we do carry it. It can be through pain. There's a lot I want to say here. A lot I want to say, and I actually need to get going. But again, inspiration, when I feel inspired, I want to talk about something. I don't really have, you know, just the leisure, I would say, to do so. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. I got things to do, but again, for myself, I need to talk, you know. I need to go with the inspiration, so I can't really say that any other way. But anyways, because I get worried about the things that I'm putting off right now, and it's hard to concentrate on them, like the consequences of it. And I mean, they're not terrible, and it's nothing really major, but I don't want to put myself under stress. I don't like putting myself under stress, and maybe I'm just overthinking it or overstressing myself, which I probably am. So let me just, like, you know, just be cool, like Yolanda in the movie, you know, in Tarantino, and bitch, be cool. Everybody, don't effing move. I'll execute every one of you. You know, whatever. Maybe I've got to be careful what words I say on YouTube. I listen to people, you know, making videos, and they block out, you know, beep out so many words. So it's like, wow, you know. Anyways, I mean, not that what they're going to do. I got a straight. No, that doesn't matter. I'm going to carry it away. So, yeah, but this is the nitty-gritty of my life. This is the nitty-gritty of working, you know, in a philosophical notion, spiritual, whatever. I mean, that word is so tainted, and, you know, whatever. That, like, working in this world. And then, I mean, yesterday I did a recording and it was power, you know, but then I had to go on with the rest of my day, and I just felt like sort of tired and drained because I felt like I was connecting into that space. Again, the let's just say the mindfulness or the higher states of consciousness, or, you know, unplugging from the matrix. And I got to plug myself back in, and it's hard, man. It's really, really difficult. You know, that's why I can't smoke cannabis. You know, just can't smoke it. Just everything becomes unfamiliar, too extreme, and I can't cope and I can't manage. And that's what I'm saying. It's already bizarre enough for myself having to do what I need to do during the day, pay the bills, and just, you know, be in a mindful state. Anyways, isn't it? Okay, so now the thing is that for myself, I'm saying 10 years ago I could have said, you know, like, yeah, it was a mistake, or it's just an error, or again, I am just part of a system and a, you know, cog on a wheel, and I don't know, I'm sure there's another word, another expression of how to say this, of where you just, you know, you're just part of a system, you're you just, and it's just your turn. There must be something, you know. I'm sure there's an analogy I can give that will nail this, but I think you know what I'm saying. Yeah, again, I mean, if you're trying to build a notion, an idea, or a feeling that the universe and existence is based on love, and really the whole essence of existence, of your existence, is return to the authentic self, to love yourself, right? As Justin Bieber wisely, that wise young man had that song, you know, called Love Yourself, which is trust yourself, which is so much, and care for yourself, so that, you know, your real pure being can come out, your essence can come out, your potential, who you are that you were disconnected, can come out, that you're not overwhelmed by negative thoughts, harmful actions to yourself and others. Emotionally, you're not easily triggered, you know, into massive anger or melancholy, whatever it might be, or just really pummeled by the experiences of life, you know, type of thing, to help navigate. I mean, there's just so much that it's so important. That's the journey back to the self, and again, it's love and it's care. Because, dude, if you hate yourself, you can't even connect with other people. If you loathe yourself, if you don't trust yourself, you won't trust anybody in the world. Not that there's many people to trust. But really, whatever you don't give yourself, you can't give to others. If you can't give presence to yourself, you can't be present for others. If you don't honor your emotional states, if you're not balancing, you're not working on them, if you're not processing your emotional states, right, you can't help anybody else. And this is really, but I don't know if I'm going to have the time to get into it because I'm talking about something else, is processing the emotions. Emotions, unprocessed emotions, are one of the most dangerous things in the world. For me, there's no question about it. Because where does all destruction come from? It comes from pain, right? It comes from a need to create pain externally or internally in order to feel power, in a sense, to feel significant, whatever it might be, you know? When we feel pain, we feel helpless, right? We feel scared. And we need to have control, and we need to hurt, and we need to numb ourselves off from their pain. So there's, you know, like, I think it was Spinoza, you know, his idea of, you know, from anger to pain to, which is similar in that way. And anyways, so I'm saying quite a lot here. But again, because again, I think it's been so like, be yourself because everyone else is taken, or, you know, be ordinary, or be, you know, like there has been this sort of self-help, which I think has ruined the actual, you know what I mean? It's like it's mocked. It's, you know, the reality of love yourself. It's, oh, love yourself. That sounds so nice, you know, or be there for yourself, or, you know, build a relationship. It just sounds so sort of woo-woo and washy-washy, and like, you know, bumper sticker or a fridge magnet on a, you know, on somebody's fridge, you know, like a soccer mom, and be like, oh, Denise gave this to me. Love yourself, even though that nobody else does, you know, type of thing. So maybe we need to find better words. That's sometimes when I feel like I'm talking and I say love yourself, it's like, oh, geez, what crap is this, you know? But again, if we return to the innocence, if we return to like a childlike state, which we really are in a way, not immature, but like innocence and purity, you know, that's the notion. We just live in an evil world, man, where people are just beating the crap out of each other, whether it's energetically, you know, physically, whatever it might be, financially. We just live in a very, very violent, aggressive world where that just seems like the, you know, the dog eat dog, eat or be eaten, you know, get rich or die trying, and that's the notion that we're living in. So for us, you know, it's like, oh, to love yourself, how vulnerable that is, or like how, you know, what a wuss, you know, or something like that, or like that's really some people that are draped in white, new age folk that are, you know, standing on top of the hill, holding hands, and, you know, just about everything must be peaceful, and we don't say any swear words, we don't hurt, you know, like, you know, we what do you call it? We wait for the fruit from the, to fall off the tree before we eat it, because like in that movie Notting Hill, fruitarian or something like that, because we don't want to murder the fruit or something. I'm getting carried away. But again, my point of what I'm trying to say is that this is life or death, bruh. This is life or death to love oneself. It's not like an extracurricular. It's not like, this is going to help you so, you can get that job that you want to get, or you can manifest that car that you want to get, or that girlfriend you want to get, or that you'll be able to go to the gym and get that six-pack that you ever wanted. So many things are just geared in our society in that way, of this accomplishment, this external accomplishment, so you can get something, other people's approval, you can get the body that you've always wanted. I'm saying that's why when I say about caring for oneself and taking oneself responsible, it's life or death, but in the most sincere way. Because we are like precious gems that are covered by, dirt. It's not a good analogy, but that's the last place we want to go, is to actually believe or feel that we are lovable, that we are part of a bigger, greater universe family. There's just so much, but we disconnected. We have a false identity about ourselves. We have emotions that are not consistent with who we are. They just there's just so much. We are so riddled with ideology, with just, we've been so misdirected, and we have no idea, and we're self-loathing, and we don't trust ourselves, and we just don't know. There's just so much. The critic voice is the loudest voice that there is. We're in our own prison at the same time. We are in our own prison at the same time. And we will be the ones to pay. I mean, when I listen to talks on serial killers, which I've told you I've been into recently, and women who've murdered their husbands and people, it's like a lot of them were in so much pain, or it was just an emotional response, and they couldn't believe that they did that. Like a lot of the time, in these murders, wouldn't be serial killers, but a woman who murders her husband and pushes him out of the building, and he falls to, and then I realize, shit, something came over me. Or these serial killers who are unwell, so something came over me, at that time. David Berkowitz, son of Sam, said he felt like he was possessed in a way. We need to try and also understand sometimes, maybe there are some kind of, forces or an evil or whatever it is, or destructive forces that kind of do take over us because we are not in touch with our light. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's severe. That's hectic. Now, I don't think any of you are, these kind of people, but, murderers or whatever it is, and I doubt it, but there's self-murder. And so, there's a lot going on with this. And what I'm saying is that I think it's so simple, in a way, the things that I talk about in regards to healing and the path back to one's soul or spirit or divinity or something or other. But if you don't acknowledge that in yourself, we just see it as an idea, but not as an action, not as an activity, not as a way of life, then you're just wasting your life away. You're just wasting it away with thoughts of, well, I didn't choose to be here. There's no ways I chose to be here, which you don't know. And what I'm saying is that maybe at the end of your days, let's say you're 80 years old, 90 years old, and you realize, okay, I grew up in a shitty environment. I grew up in poverty, and and just with a late night sneaky uncle, dodgy mother effer and whatever it is. And so, I had, what I'm saying, I don't know what to say, even for myself. But at 90 years old, you managed, at, let's say 40 years old or so, to start working on yourself, whatever the hell that means, returning back to your essence and your purity, and bringing more love into your own, and care and consideration into your own being, in your own essence, in your own universe, right? In your own universe, and then also assisting others at the same time, or just being an example to others, because there's not really many who's going to follow. You know, I haven't been on my channel for a long time, and I just had about 3 or 4 comments from people, you know, on videos, and just said, really miss you, or, you know, you really helped me, and whatever it is. And, you know, granted, my own negative self-critical talk is like, you don't help anybody, brother. You know, what do you really have to offer? Seriously, that's what I'm up against. That's why I got to say, you know what, no, I have something to offer, and I think I'm brilliant. You know, I think my talks are brilliant. I think my thoughts are brilliant, you know, and it sounds egotistical, but I can back it up. You know, I can tell you why, and I deserve to say why. You know, I deserve it, and I don't do it enough for myself. I don't do it enough. I'm not telling anyone that they have to believe me, or they have to follow me, but just for my own being. You know, I think I've done pretty well for myself, and it's hard for me to say that, because if I tell you what's been going on for me for the last year, because I think it was last year, January, that I uploaded my last video, if I had to tell you what's going on, you wouldn't believe. I'm telling you, it's heartbreaking, but heartbreaking. It's salt in the wounds. You know, it's insult to injury. You could not really believe what I have been through. More than a year, for 2 years, because there are things that I never spoke about on my channel, you know, while things are going on. So you have no idea. And for myself, even this morning when I wake up, I think to myself, I can't let this get the better of me. I can't let it just hold me down. I can't just look and say this is without reason, or this is like, you know, it's so difficult. I'm like, but why? Why have I got to go through these things in order to learn the lesson? That it's just so painful, it's just so agonizing, it's just so insulting, it's just so belittling, it's just so ironic. Why have I got to go through this? You know, let me just have a break and a breather. So, yeah, but, you know, the thing is that, you know, you're taking your eye off the prize of the much bigger picture, and that's what we can't afford to do. That's why it's important to plug into higher states of consciousness or presence, or, you know, whatever it is, so that we are able to see, you know, unplugging from the matrix, you know, raising our vibration, whatever, I don't know, gee whiz, got to find better words, you know, so we can see the bigger picture, how vital that is. Yeah, anyways, I'm going to tire myself out here, because this takes a lot of energy. This does, even though I'm talking, you know, to my phone while walking up and down my bedroom, you know, it's exhausting. You know? It's much easier just to watch, you know, I don't know, some TV series. My Name is Earl, which I've been watching. It's okay. I mean, it's, you know, entertaining in a sense. Much easier to do that, much more, you know, but not as rewarding. No ways. And that's the thing, is rewarding. How do we make a rewardable life? How do we make life rewardable when it's just so down and out? You know, how do we do it? So what I'm saying is that it's not out of like some people just, you know, motivational speaking and whatever it is. It's almost like it's not a necessity. It's just something cool, you know. I can't remember any of these guys' names, but there's so many on the internet, you know. Like a Jay Shetty, who's just a sellout. I've been watching documentaries on him, and he's in a lot of trouble. Yeah, the dark side of Jay Shetty. It's crazy. It's crazy. You see what fame and fortune does to you. You know, maybe he was always like that. But people who get too popular and too famous and too rich, they just become so corrupted. Not everybody, but most do. You know, the ego takes over. Even though the guy talks about ego and he talks about, you know, whatever it is, it's like, anyways, so let me start ending off. If that's really possible, I mean, do me a favor, this is always ongoing, it's always a discovery. Okay, so let's just go back to some of the most important one of the most important movies of our time is The Truman Show, you know, or Neo in The Matrix, you know, the hero story, right? At the time of Jim Carrey's, you know, this, and I can't say this for everybody, because some people's lives are absolutely so atrocious, you know, that it's just like, I can't, you know, I don't think they can, and dare I say, they turn the tragic into the magic, which sounds so ridiculous, you know, and I don't really have that attitude, I must say, because it's so hard to have that attitude, because it's taking responsibility for everything that you've gone through and everything that you've been exposed to, you know. So people who are serving like a life prison, a sentence in prison, because, you know, like this woman who by mistake, I mean, she just got very emotional, she pushed her husband out of the window, she didn't even realize the window was there, and he fell to his death, and she served life in prison, and her daughter was like 2 years old at the time, or she was pregnant, and then she had to give up her daughter because it was crazy, so she committed suicide, like, you know, I don't know however many years later. She couldn't handle it. Some stories are just, many stories are very, very tragic, and there's not something that, they're not able to turn it around. But if you look at David Berkowitz, Son of Sam, and you watch the interview on him, there's that mafia guy, he's also got a YouTube channel, I don't know what his name is, I'm terrible with names, and he interviews him, and this guy's like, really, he's become a whole different person, and he's now very much just helping others. You know, he was a serial killer, David Berkowitz, Son of Sam, and you know, he absolutely changed his life around, and he's taken responsibility. Like, I mean, that's huge. Most of these guys who murder, they don't take responsibility. They deny it. They say it's not them. You know, they can't actually own what they've done. They can't forgive themselves, which I'll do for another talk. But it's so vital that, I mean, can you imagine, just like when you do realize, gee whiz, I took people's lives. You know, I affected the families of people's lives. I ended people's lives. Like, what the hell, where was I? I mean, that's being authentically honest with oneself and one's pain and taking responsibility for oneself. And that is the transformation that needs to take place. But it's massive responsibility. It's massive responsibility. So for the things that you've done in order to learn to forgive yourself for it, which sounds so like, you know, look for the good in everyone, you know, it's a stupid song. You know, just like, okay, just forgive yourself, forgiveness. No idea. So again, learning to forget, because most of ourselves just hold ourselves in so much guilt and shame for what we have done and what we've been through and the person that we've always wanted to be that we weren't allowed to be, and we didn't. Anyways. So David Berkowitz, he'll spend the rest of his life in prison, but he really turned it around. You know, where one of the family of his victim, a member of the family, came to him and just said, I forgive you. You know, I forgive you. Because that's what the courts are looking for. Not that I think the law in prison is right and whatever it is, but they're looking for you to say, I'm aware, I'm conscious of what I did. I take responsibility of what I did. I'm guilty. And I ask for your forgiveness. And that's what they're wanting. But it's when you deny, I mean, when you have done something and you deny it, then there's no pity on you. You know, look at O.J. Simpson. What a character. What an animal, in a way, so to speak. You know, not to disregard animals, but I'm saying to murder people in cold blood, and what he did, you know, and whatever it is. And then he never pleaded guilty, but he got off. But people, anyway, that's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother talk about the O.J. Simpson trial and what happened there. My thoughts, you know, my feelings. But yeah, so David Berkowitz also, this is, you know, he was adopted. He didn't realize he was adopted. He only found out when he was 5 years old. His mother told him, look, I'm not your real mother. It's a crazy idea to do, you know, really messed him up, you know. But again, at the same time, it's so important. It's like, you know, we're born into the culture that we're born into, the family, the trauma that we're born into, and we commit acts of violence and so many things because of our upbringing. It's almost like we didn't even know. We didn't even know what we were doing. I didn't know when I was drinking and driving and being so irresponsible. I didn't care. I literally didn't give a darn. I could have slammed into a mother and a child, and a pregnant woman and killed her. I mean, I was pissed drunk when I used to drive, drunk. I didn't give a shit about anything, you know? And what happens if, God forbid, something happened when I was drinking and I would be in prison to this day? For that, I'd be like, an 18-year-old kid, he watches Fast and Furious, he gets his license, finally he's on his own, he's like, bro, I'm going to, turn this mother effer out or something like that, goes on the highway, speeds, boom, doesn't know what he's doing, wasn't conscious at the time of what he was doing, so much violent porn, and a kid's growing up on violent porn, and then he sees, he's with his girlfriend of the first night, and he just goes wild and, abuses her sexually or whatever, doesn't think about what he's doing, wasn't conscious at the time. Maybe he grew up with a father who used to beat his mom all the time. What does he know? So that's what you're exposed to, and that's what you carry on with. And so you're not even in control of yourself. You're acting unconsciously, subconsciously, from televisions, from movies, from music. It's disgusting. It's disgusting, the stuff that goes on. So you don't even know. It's like you are possessed by a force that's just very self-destructive to others, to yourself, to everything. And this is the things that you've done. So many of us have done these things. We need to forgive ourselves because we're just, okay. So my point being, and ending off, right, because I really need to get going, is that at the end of your life, if you've really done a 180 and you've really brought a lot of love and light and whatever nonsense, and it's not nonsense, but I don't like those sayings because everything is just so like desensitized. The words are just so like, you know what I mean, airy-fairy, whatever it is. But if you have brought a significant difference into your life and you've done something that, you've lived a life that you could be proud of, like regardless of where you came from, regardless of what you went through, like against the odds, you turned it around, you made something of it and something beautiful, you turned it into something beautiful, your life. And a lot of people, you brought a lot of beauty and love into other people's lives, and you've given them, been a leader, and you've, been on the cutting edge of just, of consciousness, of ideas, of philosophies, of notions, of, insights on the human condition, on the human psychology, on the human, on spirit, the soul, and you've brought things into the world. You've been revolutionary in your thinking, and you've really you've made an impact on the world. And fine, you will leave that behind in a way, but at least you'll take something with you into the next life. Not this embittered type of, like just sullen, angry, pissed off, same thing, just feelings of what the hell is it all for? It's just a joke anyways, you drink and be merry and you die, it was life's a joke and then you die type of thing. In that notion, and you do that to yourself, you take that to your grave, to your last dying breath, and you've impacted your children with that, and the family members with that, and with people that have worked with you, and all that you've done is that they've absorbed that, or you've shared that with them, this heaviness, this melancholy, which is fine to be heavy. Often of the time I'm heavy. Often of the time I'm feeling melancholy. Often of the time. But that's all that you've really brought into the world and that you've shared with people. And believe me, at that stage in your life, you are going to be absolutely vulnerable. Right now, you're like, I don't give a darn. Nothing will change my mind. This is a mistake. This is an error. There's no God, or God's just a prankster, or whatever it might be. That's the wounded. That's all the wounds talking. And you know what? You're going to be chewed up and spat out. No? So that's what we owe to ourselves, and like I said, and what we owe to one another. But we owe it to ourselves to try and be heroic, to try and, as I used to say, as my friend Ricky would say, to work with the cards that we've been dealt, yeah, and make something of it that we can feel proud of. I know that sounds so corny. It all sounds so corny, but it's so real. And that's what's so scary about it. So it's easier for us to say, it's so corny. Because that way we don't have to deal with the intensity of the reality of it and the responsibility that it comes with and the seriousness of it. Because it's real stuff. All right. Thanks for listening.